Yeah, this one's gonna be a big one. So, here's the original titles for both versions and release dates. Giant Monster of the Sky Rodan was distributed by Toho in Japan, while Rodan the Flying Monster was distributed by DCA in America. With that said, let's dive in. The intro credits, of course, are different, with the Toho logo absent in the American cut. Also, the credits stretch out longer in the original, coming to nearly 2 minutes, while the dub is roughly about half that. Also, director Ishiro Honda's name is spelled incorrectly in the dub. Ironically, this wouldn't be the only time this man's name was spelled like this. After the credits, the dub immediately starts off with stock footage and narration talking about atomic weapons. This entire montage goes on for roughly 2.5 minutes, all of which is nowhere seen in the original. After this though, we do get to where the original starts off, at Mount Aso. However, this entire moment is completely changed. Like the Gigantus dub before it, or should I say after it, this one also has narration sprinkled throughout the film, and once again provided by Key Luke, playing Kenji Sahara's character, Shigeru Kawamura. The Mount Aso scene in the dub, like I mentioned, has Kawamura's narration on it, cutting out all the sounds heard in the original, which includes Siren, Ifukube's music, and scenes which actually had dialogue. The dub also inserts bits of footage which would have been used later in the original. These moments themselves are trimmed from the Japanese cut. Some footage of mining cars are trimmed down, including a scene which was entirely removed. The fight between Yoshizo and Goro has them fighting over a drink in the original, while the dub has them fighting because of, and I quote, strange tension. As the scene progresses, Kawamura's narration is continued to be heard over, right into the transition scene, where he continues to talk. Chief Suda's mouth is moving, but Kawamura can't let him get a word in. They even cut a moment of the poor guy out. Obviously, this scene in the original has no narration, and the characters are just speaking normally to each other. A small audio change with the phone has it sounding different in both cuts. When Kawamura answers the phone, he remains on it a bit longer in the original. A short moment with Suda is cut out of the dub. Our version really didn't care for this guy. The following scene at the mines has added music in the dub, including cutting out a bit of footage. When Kawamura enters the mines, the scene fades into the dub, while the original hard cuts inside. Something that would happen a lot between these versions. When the characters are walking to the flooded area, some footage is trimmed down. When the characters are inside said area, the dub adds music and dialogue, while the original is kept silent, until Ifukube's score creeps in. Also again, more footage is trimmed down. When they find Yoshizu's body, once again, footage is trimmed down. The following moment in the dub starts up a narration that flat out tells us that Yoshi is dead. Seconds later, when the characters go to where they hear a group of people outside of the room, footage of Yoshi's wife screaming toward them is cut down, including footage of the characters walking away, in more scenes than one. The following again has added music.
Have you seen Otami?
She's still in the hospital.
A scene with some women walking by is cut. Some footage of Shigeru and Kyo walking is trimmed down. A tracking shot of the miners is absent in the dub, but the scene still is in the American version. It was just played earlier in the film, of course though it was severely shortened down. When the search team is looking for Goro in the mines, an added shot of the water is present in the dub, along with a lot of footage being shortened down. Also, Ifukube's music is heard only in the Japanese version of this scene, at least until the guys are being dragged under. Also, the sound of the Meganulon are heard only in the Japanese version, up until the remaining guy gets out of the water. When this scene ends, it hard cuts to the next scene in the Japanese version, but the dub instead fades to black with the guy screaming. It actually makes the moment more effective at being creepy. The following scene remains of the deceased bodies a bit longer in the original, while the dub speeds up out of there. A tracking shot towards the chief's office is cut. A scene with some women is cut. A few bits of Yoshi's wife wanting to speak to Kyo are trimmed down. When Shigeru goes and visits Kyo, music along with extra dialogue from Kyo are added to the dub. Also, a few seconds of Kyo crying are trimmed down. When the first on-screen Meganulon attacks, Shigeru and Kyo's exit seems a bit more at ease in the original. Yes, they look scared out of their minds, but the way they exit seems pretty calm. Shigeru even has time to shut the door with this thing lunging at him, whereas the dub just gets them out of there. A few seconds of people coming to help are trimmed. Also, the music in this scene is different in both versions. When the guard starts shooting at the Meganulon, an added scene that was used before is inserted in the American version. A full body shot of the Meganulon is almost entirely cut in the dub, with only the extreme close-up remaining in the film. A scene with people wondering what the commotion is played after the scene I just showed you in the original, while the dub plays this shot after Shigeru and Kyo escape the Meganulon attack. A scene with the Meganulon crawling away is cut. An establishing shot outside the mines and another scene of the Meganulon is cut. Also, music plays only in the American version. Footage of people running toward the Meganulon is trimmed down, along with a shot of the bug itself, and lots of shots of guys running toward it are removed. Also, the shootout has a lot of small trims here and there, as well as added music. The scene is definitely more lively here in the American version than it is the original. Yet some more footage of the Meganulon is either trimmed down or entirely cut. Footage of the people running down toward the Meganulon's victims are trimmed down. Another scene of the Meganulon is cut. Following this, the original plays a scene that was played earlier in the dub, right around when Shigeru and Kyo were attacked. When the victims are being carried away on stretchers, the sound of a horn can be heard only in the dub. After this scene, when the military comes, a voice of a man can be heard only in the dub, as well as music only playing in the English version. When the characters go down to hunt the Meganulon, extra dialogue is heard only in the American version. Also, music is different in both versions as well. More people walking are trimmed down. When the group find the Meganulon, 2 different shots of the creatures are used in both versions. Also, the music stops playing in the original, while it continues to play in the dub. I should also note this close-up of the Meganulon moving forward is reused several times in the dub. When the ceiling caves in on the creature, footage outside is used only in the dub. The footage would be used later in the upcoming scene in both versions. The meeting after the Meganulon scene has the entire first half removed in the dub. Correction, this scene still is in the dub, it just plays randomly after a scene with Shigeru bedridden. A shot of the mountains is cut. When Sunagawa gets a phone call, beeping noises are heard only in the dub. Also, the dub trims a bit of him out. After the phone call, we fade to the next scene in the dub. Also, the scene has added music and dialogue, while the Japanese is hush hush.
What would cause a thing like this on a car?
Some footage of Shigeru being found is cut down. A scene of the characters walking Shigeru to a room is cut. Some footage of them talking to him is also cut. When Kyo comes to see him, different music plays in both versions. When Shigeru is going through the pictures, added dialogue and music is heard only in the dub.
Shigeru, it killed your friend Goro.
When the scene fades to black, it opens up at a completely different location at an airport, while the original hard cuts to Nishimura getting a phone call. However, after this scene, we do get to the airport. The scene where the jet pilot comes in contact with Rodan has lots of scenes rearranged, including different music playing in both versions. The final moment of this scene, a shot of a contrail line, and an establishing shot of China are all removed in the dub. The dub after this scene plays a radio broadcast that would be shown after several different location drops in the original. Also, the scene is more intensified in the dub, with more faster paced editing. Most of the footage shown in the scene would be used later when Rodan starts his attack. It even includes scenes not shown in the original movie. Also, they use this guy's scene twice, but reverse the shot later. After the scene in the dub, we get to that moment with Nishimura that played before the first Rodan attack in the original. The Japanese version after the broadcast scene has us with a young couple on their way to their doom, which probably has the most out-of-place music only heard in the dub. Also, the beginning bit with them turning off the radio was removed. When we get to this couple's location, we are greeted with 2 different shots of the mountains. This scene, like before, has added dialogue and music for the dub. When Rodan goes to attack the couple, a scene of the boyfriend leaving his girl behind is cut from the dub. Also, the dub adds a shot of Rodan. It's the same footage when he attacked the jet. When Dr. Kashiwagi finds what animal the wing belongs to in the photo, Added dialogue is present only in the dub. Also, the last bit of the scene is cut. A scene with Shigeru and Kyo that plays afterwards has added music for the dub, as well as additional dialogue. When Shigeru is remembering the baby Rodan, a scene with bats is removed. When the characters go to find the egg in the mines, narration from Shigeru and music can only be heard in the dub. Also, the bat scene I mentioned earlier that was removed is placed in this moment for the English version. When the characters react to the rocks falling, a bit of footage is removed. A sign to the Minami Physics Research Institute is removed. When Rodan's wingspan is being measured, the original comes to 270 feet, while the dub says it's about 500 feet. When this scene ends, we're dropped at two different locations in both versions. The original has us with the characters immediately finding Rodan, while the dub takes us on a helicopter ride to find the remains of Rodan's victims. They report to stock footage from earlier that they found Rodan's den, get the jets in the air, which also has footage not shown in the original, attack Mr. and Mrs. Rodan's home, and then finally go to where the original left off, with added jet sounds in the background. Some footage of Rodan and the characters watching him are removed. When Rodan takes flight, there's a lot of footage that's either missing or rearranged in the dub. After the first Rodan takes off, another one appears, but this is only in the American cut. In fact, they just mirrored the picture from the scene that was used earlier. I get what they were going for since the second Rodan does appear out of nowhere in the original, but by doing this it kinda ruins the surprise. Anyway, after Rodan takes off, the original has us with these guys getting informed, while the dub puts us right into an aerial battle. The Japanese version does come to this scene shortly after. The jet battle scenes have a lot of rearranging in the dub, and I'll admit it's kinda hard telling what's been cut or what's been shortened down, especially when a lot of the footage just looks the same. So I'm sorry if I'm being lazy here. Though I did spot one scene with Rodan being removed. The dub reuses again the scene at the airport, and for a turnaround, the original actually has music present in its version, while the dub has none, at least for the first bit of the fight. Footage of people evacuating are trimmed down. The Rodan attack scene. Okay, I'm actually going to number these ones because there's quite a bit. So, let's go. Number 1, the music is different in both versions. Number 2, there are several rearranged scenes in the dub. Number 3, a shot of these guys are removed. Number 4, a shot of debris falling is rearranged to show up later in Rodan's attack. Number 5, this shot here is removed. Number 6, tanks roll into place before Rodan hits the city in the original, while they come after Rodan's already there in the dub. Number 7, shots of buildings being blown away as well as a shot of Rodan himself is removed. Number 8, a scene of military vehicles setting up the fire is trimmed down. Number 9, the tanks have different sound effects in both versions. Number 10, a scene of a tank rolling is removed. Number 11, a scene with Rodan is removed. Number 12, a scene with vehicles firing is cut. Number 13, roughly 40 seconds of the military firing at Rodan is cut down in the dub. Some of the footage though would be used once the second Rodan flies in. Number 14, when Rodan is taking off from the attack, he's already in the air in the dub, while the Japanese version has him setting up to fly. I don't think I need to explain why the Americans cut this bit out. In fact, I'm even surprised it was left the way it was. Number 15, shots of several buildings and this guy holding for his life are either removed or placed after the second Rodan appears. Number 16, several shots of the building being destroyed with the people inside are removed. Number 17, a scene with the firefighters coming in are cut. Number 18, a shot of a burning building is cut. Number 19, a shot of Rodan being attacked is cut. Number 20, a shot of the second Rodan coming in is added to the dub, as well as another scene that was used earlier. Number 21, when the second Rodan comes in, added footage of it flying around is present only in the dub. Number 22, the dub reuses a scene of this guy looking out of the window of the building that was just destroyed seconds ago once the two Rodan leave. Number 23, a shot of the vehicles are cut. Number 24, a shot of the Rodans are cut. Number 25, once both Rodan leave, the scene fades in the dub. Number 26, when we see the cities in flames, music is heard only in the dub. Whew, I kid you not, that actually exhausted me. Anyway, after all that, we go to a conference scene which gets interrupted in the original by cutting to the helicopter scene that was played before the Rodan appeared in the dub. Another fade, another trim. A scene with the military vehicles driving by and setting up are placed in a later point in the dub. When Shigeru looks out the window, we cut to Kyo in the dub, before seeing Shigeru run out of the room. The original never shows Kyo until after he runs out. A shot of smoke is cut. A few seconds of running are trimmed. Several shots of the military vehicles firing at the Rodan are either trimmed, rearranged, or removed. I'm sorry I'm being lazy here again. Shots of the lava are trimmed down. The dub reuses a shot of Rodan inside the caverns with added fire footage over it. When the Rodans are burning alive, Shigeru narrates the remaining bit of the movie. And finally, the end title cards are different, with the dub adding more Rodan roars till it fades. Oh my god, what a headache that was. I'll admit now that I haven't watched that much of Rodan. I probably haven't seen it in several years now, so I wasn't too familiar on what was changed and what wasn't. But when I started this, I didn't think it was going to be that much, but I was dead wrong. The movie is edited so much that I felt like I was talking about almost every scene of the film. Also, the dub almost never has a quiet moment. There's a ton of additional dialogue, music, and narration. The original is quiet a lot of the time, and preferably I choose the original's audio because it knows when to be quiet and to build atmosphere. I mean, take the ending for example. The original is somber, with silence and only mute sounds being heard, while the dub has Shigeru thinking to himself like an egotistical maniac. Speaking of the dub itself, I personally don't like when Americans give characters Asian accents, so I'm not really in favor of it. But ignoring my personal gripes, I guess it's not bad. In terms of cutting, I think the American version does shine in this aspect. The Japanese version has way too many scenes that just linger on for no reason but to padding out the runtime, especially a lot of moments of people just walking. The dub does a good job at literally cutting the runtime to just get a move on with things. Yes, monster footage is cut in the US version, but the footage that is removed are just shots that really don't make the monsters shine all that well. I mean, just look for yourselves. Well, this video took longer than I was hoping for, so if you've seen both versions, which one do you like? Do you prefer the more ambient Japanese version, or the more faster paced American version? I'd like to hear your opinion in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching toward the end, and take care.
When he moves, the whole earth quivers and quakes, and an abyss of horror opens up. See these prehistoric beasts emerge from the bowels of the earth after 200 million years to devastate mankind.